10 short but important facts. Number 1. In Thailand, traffic drives on the left. Number 2. Bangkok's road network has a total length of 702,989 kilometers. Number 3. A 2024 survey identified these 5 intersections with the worst rush hour congestion. These streets can be a pain in the ass too. Number 4. According to the statistical yearbook, there are more registered vehicles than residents in Bangkok. Number 5. Less than a half have a driving license. Number 6. According to the Thai RSC, there were 145,028 traffic accidents in 2024, of which 832 were fatal. Number 7. In 9 out of 10 cases, a motorcycle was involved, although 2 million more cars are registered. Number 8. 4 out of 5 fatalities were male. Number 9. Traffic in Bangkok is heavy throughout the day, but the worst between 7:30 and 9:30 a.m. and between 5 and 7:30 p.m. Number 10. During rush hour, the driving speed drops to 20 kilometers per hour. Number 11. Most fatal accidents occur when traffic is moving faster, between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. Now you have a general idea of what's happening on the streets. But believe me, numbers don't reflect the true badness. To understand what awaits you there, you have to know that worlds collide here. The fact is that our Western road behavior, especially that of Europeans, is completely different than that of Thais. First example, while our streets always have sidewalks because we love walking, most Thai streets don't have sidewalk or only very small, broken, irregular sidewalks because Thais hate walking. Try suggesting a walking date.
First thing that I'd like to do.
People look at you like you're crazy. You ting-tong. Thais drive or have themselves driven. It's far too hot for them to walk. Oh, miso saweti. 2 tips. On a street without a sidewalk, it's better to walk on the right side so you can see the incoming traffic. And on the street with a sidewalk, be extra careful because A, many floor tiles are loose, and B, some Thais ride their motorcycles on the sidewalk, although this is punishable by a 5,000 baht fine. Second example, this is a zebra crossing, known worldwide as a marking that gives pedestrians priority over car traffic. Not so in Thailand. Most Thais either don't know the meaning or consciously ignore it. There's no other way to explain why you cannot rely on a vehicle to stop for you. You might think that drivers would automatically brake if there was a pedestrian on the road, but does not happen here. It seems as if Thais consider the zebra crossing to be a very beautiful pattern that occasionally brightens up the design of the streets. Oh, so beautiful. Tip: be brave and attentive. It's best to wait until traffic stops. If it does not stop for a long time, pay attention to 3 things. How fast is the vehicle? How far away is it? And if you feel confident, move demonstratively into the first lane, preferably with a hand movement. And then pay attention to the reaction. Remember, Thais do not expect pedestrians because they do not walk themselves. Third example, just because the light is green doesn't mean you won't get hit. This is because many drivers can hardly turn during their green phase, so they drive off when they are actually no longer allowed to. Tip: never trust a Thai traffic sign. Always check the traffic around you and anticipate the situation. Good luck. One cool sidewalk anecdote. Once I was caught in a heavy downpour, but luckily I was wearing flip-flops and shorts. Something very beautiful happened. The Thai people in the area showed me at every corner how deep the next step into the wet unknown would be. So I sometimes pulled my pants a little higher. This made walking in the river easier, but when I tried to support myself on a wall, they screamed loudly, "No, no, no, no." The reason? The entire wall of the house was full of cockroaches that had escaped from the water on the upper floor. They are the only animals you can encounter on sidewalks. I'm talking about rats near the garbage bags and unfortunately also snakes. By the way, at many stations along the Skytrain road, there are elevated skywalks between the road and the tracks. They are shady, so you avoid traffic jams, see a lot, take photos, and reduce traffic stress to zero. And something else that most first-time visitors miss, the Green Mile, a hidden walkway that leads from Benchakiti Park to Lumpini Park, a nice shortcut along a canal and a residential area with old wooden houses. Now that you know how the traffic in Bangkok can be, do you still want to join in? Then let's look at the options. Buses, taxis, tuk-tuks and motorcycles. I cover trains and ships in other videos. Of all the options mentioned, I actually can only recommend two, and I will explain why. Absolute no-go, taxis and tuk-tuks. I know, as a newbie, tuk-tuk ride is a must. I get it, but do it once and never again if you don't want to have any headache on vacation. Reason one, many taxi drivers and almost all tuk-tuk drivers try everything to rip off tourists. The price quoted is always higher in the end, or they take you on a trip to a friend's souvenir dealer. Tip, learn basic Thai. Follow the route live on Google Maps so you can immediately see if you're going the wrong direction. Insist on the meter in the taxi before you get in. And if there's trouble, pay the price. Learn your lesson. Don't let the situation become violent. In Thailand, it's always your fault in the end. Reason two, as soon as you get into a 3 or 4-wheeled vehicle in Bangkok, you automatically find yourself in a traffic jam. You won't get from A to B, you will stay at A, so it's completely pointless. Tip, if you love traffic jams and want to pay a fixed price for it, book a driver through ride-hailing apps like Grab or Bolt. That leads us to buses. Even with them, you automatically end up in traffic jams, often without air conditioning. And without a special app, the network is impossible to understand at all. But it's super cheap and you're definitely the only foreigner. You meet the locals. Why not try them out 1 or 2 stations and see where you end up? The journey is the destination. Tip, the fare is collected on the bus by a bus conductor. Have change ready and keep the receipt. And now to my absolute favorite, the wonderful but super risky motorcycle taxi. The drivers are on a completely different level. They always stick to the previously agreed price and glide seamlessly through traffic jams like a fish. Smooth, real smooth. Very fast and exciting. A breath of fresh air. 2 problems. You have to hold on really tight, and unfortunately in 99% of cases the drivers don't have a helmet for you. This represents a major security risk and is prohibited. Although most Thais ride without helmets, almost only foreigners are penalized. Tip, book drivers through ride-hailing apps. They always have a second helmet for you. Another advantage of ride-hailing apps, you don't have to tell the driver your destination, you've already stated it when booking. Pro tip, if you take a motorcycle taxi or, despite all warnings, a tuk-tuk or taxi, check the map beforehand at which height you want to get off. You will often start on a main road called Thanon in Thai. And you can't expect every driver to know every hotel, cafe or restaurant. That's why it's best to name the main street in combination with the side streets, which are called Soi in Thai and often just have numbers. Example, Sukhumvit Soi 26. Note, there are even numbers on one side and uneven numbers on the other side. But that does not mean that 10 is on one side and 11 is on the opposite side. It's more like 32 is facing 49. And don't worry, no matter how far you want to drive into the side street, the previously agreed price will not change, at least for motorcyclists. These are the three players that tourists come into contact with within the city. And at Suvarnabhumi Airport, they officially operate from 6 a.m. until midnight. But Thailand wouldn't be Thailand if the providers didn't announce something different on their websites at the same time. The safe time frame is between 6 a.m. and 11 p.m. And then there are the state railway trains that take you even to Laos in the north and Malaysia in the south. Since they lead out of the city, I will only briefly talk about them in this video. Before you learn how to use the train lines, I'll show you where they are on the map. Let's start with the first line you will encounter, the Airport Rail Link, ARL. It starts in Suvarnabhumi and it ends here. Here are your transfer options. And by the way, in this video, I explain the fastest way to get from the airport to the city. Next up, the Skytrain. The green Sukhumvit line runs from north to south. First-timers only need to know these stations, because here the buses go to Pattaya, Koh Samet and Koh Chang. Here's the largest weekend market in the world, and this is where the magic happens. Last but not least, your transfer options. The dark green Silom line runs southwest. 14 stations, and most newbies get out here on the river. Your transfer options. And then there's the gold line. 3 stations. Actually just here to bring customers to the mega mall Icon Saya. That leads us to the huge MRT system. First, the Blue Line, the veteran. 38 stations. Runs like a lasso that captures the core of the city from southwest to east, up north and back again. It leads to the most important sites, great parks and markets, as well as nightlife and red light districts. First-timers only need to know these stations: Old Town, Chinatown, Silom, Sukhumvit, Chatuchak. Here are your transfer options. The purple line in the north has so far been largely uninteresting for tourists, but the extension to the south is already underway. Then it becomes important because it then runs through Dudit, Old Town, Chinatown, across the river and then towards the southeast. Opening date, maybe 2028. Now the yellow line. Nice to have, but almost no tourist will ever use it. The elevated monorail line starts in the north, next to the blue line, runs to the east until it meets the green BTS in the south. Here's the pink line. It covers the even more northern part of Bangkok, passing near Croquette Peninsula and Don Muang Airport, and ending in the east at the terminus of the electric canal boats, already under construction and expected to be completed between 2028 and 2030, the Orange Line. Very exciting construction project as it leads through the middle of the city into many important places. A good example of how Asians are creating large modern infrastructure without shutting down an entire city. Germany is welcome to take notes. Now that you have a feel for the dimensions of the train network and know the hotspots, it's time to learn how to use BTS, MRT and ARL. First, the similarities. Unlike in Western countries, you can't get close to a train in Bangkok without a ticket. Large bags are checked, so it is better to travel without them. Since there's no eating or drinking there, the cleanliness is also great. Nobody is loud. Thais are simply wonderful and respectful people. And all passengers get off before the others get on. Paradise conditions for someone from the West. You can buy tickets either at a counter by saying your destination or at a ticket machine by first pressing English on the touchscreen and then pressing your destination. Cash is king. Now there's a slight difference. At MRT and ARL, your ticket is a small black disc, a token. At BTS, you get a card. The following steps apply to everyone. You go to one of the automatic gates, and what needs to be done is written on the right side at hip height. I'm telling you, you touch the designated area with your ticket. Then the gate opens and you walk through. Important, keep your ticket until the end of the trip. You will need it to exit. Now for the hardest part. Which stairs lead to which platform? At the BTS, only the end stations are marked by signs. However, there are 2 route maps in front of the stairs, so you can check which one you need to take. The MRT made it easier, as the most well-known intermediate station is there on the sign. The ARL is the easiest, as it only goes one way from the airport anyway. And of course, the airport is shown as the destination on the way back. Tip: be sure to use Google Maps. The app not only shows you the best train connection and tells you exactly when the departure is, but it also informs you in advance about the price and the correct platform. And it helps you with the second biggest problem, which exit. A little hint about a funny experience on the Sukhumvit line Skytrain. The female speaker always announces the next station like that. Satamitopai Asok. At every stop, she speaks the name with pride. Prompong, Chitlom, Tonglo, Hekamai. Her voice only becomes very, very, very depressed at one specific station. And I always imagine it's because her little sister works there and the family is so sad. It's a train station known for its many go-go bars. And there the announcement is no longer as before. It's not like Satamitopai Asok, but more like this: Satamitopai Nana. Thank me later. You will never be able to unhear it. Back to the procedure. Before you go out, you have to get rid of your ticket. It's simple. Go down the stairs to the correct exit through the automatic gates. This time, you drop the small token into a slot or slide the card into the slot. Same, but different. Now you may be wondering if there are prepaid cards or if you can pay with a credit card. Yes, BTS has Rabbit cards and MRT has prepaid cards. BTS cards are not valid in the MRT area. MRT cards are not valid in the BTS area. For most tourists, these cards only make sense if you're staying in Bangkok for 1 or 2 weeks and really want to travel a lot by train. There's also a small fee for the purchase. And recently, tourists are facing problems in purchasing and recharging the MRT card. What's better to know is that you can pay at MRT with your Visa or MasterCard if it is activated for contactless payments. Attention! Some users with foreign accounts report that the trips are then more expensive. BTS offers a day pass for 150 baht, but if you only drive for short distances a day, then it's not worth it. Tip: to shorten the waiting time, avoid peak times in the morning and late afternoon. Don't block Thais during rush hour. Best time 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and everything after 8 p.m. Do you remember that at the beginning I promised you that I would briefly talk about the state railways? So you actually only need this if you want to leave Bangkok. Long distance trains. And most of them now start at a new main station in the north. Some still start at a beautiful old main station in Chinatown. Google Maps is also your best friend for these train connections. One canal you shouldn't miss: Khlong Saen Saep, world famous for the unforgettable long tailboat chase in the James Bond film The Man with the Golden Gun. Saen Saep supposedly means 100,000 pains, a reference to the hard work of hundreds of thousands of forced laborers who dug the canal between 1837 and 1840. The Khlong is 72 kilometers long and 20 to 30 meters wide. Nobody knows how deep it is, but at least 2 to 3 meters would make sense. The canal passes through 21 districts and is connected to more than 100 smaller canals and to the great Chao Phraya River. In the west, it begins at the end of the Mahanak Canal. In the east, the canal flows into the Pakong River, exactly between these provinces. This area is interesting for you because you can board and disembark the ferries here. The boat crew always consists of a captain and a daredevil who collects the fare, runs around the ceiling, briefly ties the ferry to the pier with a rope, and then sets it free again. This is the tricky part for beginners, but it's doable. First, watch your stuff and your step when getting in and out, because there are tires on the docks as buffers. This causes the boat to hit the dock several times, forward, backward, backward. So you need the right timing to avoid stepping into the gap. Second, you have to duck when getting in and make yourself even smaller when getting out because you are climbing up a step. Tip, there's only one pier per station for both directions. So make sure you know where you need to go and then board the right boat and have some change ready. What you need to know when you're in the boat: it's incredibly loud. The outer seats on the benches are for the best use, but can get wet. They are movable, transparent plastic sheets for protection. And that's a good thing because the canal is a gray-brown mess. Extremely dirty because of surrounding hotels, condominiums, clinics, and so on dumped their wastewater into it. And don't forget, the canal dates back to the 19th century. You don't really want to know what's inside. Tip, keep your mouth shut and check out the list of cool canal tours I put in the video description. Now that you know how to use the canal boat, let's look at the route and piers on this map and find out what there is to see in the area. The first pier is also the most important station with the most famous sightseeing spots. Number 4 is close to the Jim Thompson House. 5 and 6 are near Skytrain stations and malls. By the way, to continue east, you have to change at pier number 6. The Asok Pier is one of the busiest. These two are close to the trendy Thong Lo and Ekamai areas. Here, the canal turns northeast, past this huge university campus, up to this interchange pier. The airplane graveyard used to be located here, but unfortunately it is now closed. From there, electric boats lead to the Minburi district office. If you want, you could take the pink monorail line to the north of Bangkok. As mentioned, there are hundreds of other channels, but that was the most important one. And the others work in the same way, but not all of them have public transportation. This leads us to the Great River, the equally dirty but beautiful Chao Phraya. The river originates from the Nan and the Ping River, which flows past Chiang Mai in the north of Thailand. The Chao Phraya River is 372 kilometers long, 200 to 1,200 meters wide, 5 to 20 meters deep, and flows south of Bangkok in the Gulf of Thailand. This area is the most relevant to you as there are 4.5 passenger boat lines named after the color of the flag. Here you will find all information about routes, times and prices. There are also a lot of long-tail boats, dinner cruises and 5 tourist boats. However, these only serve 10 of the 30 piers and are more than twice as expensive, so ignore them. Getting on and off river boats is similar to canal boats. Fast, hectic, shaky, a bit risky. The difference is they are much larger and you buy the ticket at the pier before boarding. Danger, Thais always want to sell you the more expensive hop-on tourist boats. That's why you always have to be very clear about what color you want. Some tips. Look at your desired pier on Google Maps. The app will tell you exactly what color the ferry is there. Then say the color out loud. Buy the ticket. Keep your ticket until you exit the boat and check out the list of cool river tours I put in the video description. Now that you know how to use the river boat, let's look at the route and piers on this map and find out what there is to see in the area besides these 13 bridges. Let's start in the south. There's the Asiatic amusement area with the Ferris wheel. Then comes the central pier with Skytrain connection. Shortly afterwards, the stunning Icon Siam shopping center. The marine department is the gateway to Chinatown. Now to the Old Town piers. This one is important because from there you can take the small ferry to the Temple of Dawn. Past the most important sites of the Old Town, Phra Atit is the gateway to the funnier part of this district. Few tourists see the second half of the river. Highlight at the end point in the far north, the Kokret Peninsula. By the way, it was created in the 18th century by shortening the course of the river. Such shortcuts also took place here and here. Now that you've learned how to beat Bangkok traffic and use apps to make your vacation safer, you want to watch this video where I break down all the essential apps so you can travel Thailand like a pro.